The Brady Bunch looked like the ultimate television sanctuary. One split-level house, a perfectly blended family and everyday teenage crises solved with a heartwarming smile. But looking back now, the sunshine feels a bit heavier. Behind the perfect hair and cheerful grid were real lives marked by deep personal battles, substance struggles, and painful endings. This is the Brady Bunch then and now, and what happened after the backyard went quiet may hurt more than you expect. Marcia Brady is the beautiful, popular eldest daughter whose perfect hair, stellar grades, and endless school achievements made her the ultimate golden girl of suburbia. The teenage princess who walked through the high school hallways with a smile and slowly became the show's most aspirational portrait of youth. Maureen McCormick, born August 5, 1956, was 13 when the series began in 1969, and she gave Marcia the perfect mix of confidence, conceited charm, and emotional energy. Marcia could be arrogant, self-absorbed, and desperate to protect her reputation, but that is why her arc worked. She had to learn humility in front of millions of viewers, famously discovering that perfection is fragile when a stray football hits your nose. In 2026, McCormick turned 70, and her life after the Brady house has stayed closely tied to a triumphant journey of personal resilience. After the show ended, she faced severe public and private battles with substance abuse, depression, and the heavy burden of her childhood image chapters she later spoke about with unusual, inspiring honesty in her memoir. She successfully reclaimed her story, returned to television on reality competition shows like Dancing with the Stars, and built a creative path around interior design and family life. Marcia Brady endures because Maureen McCormick made teenage perfection feel bright, relatable, and eventually human. Jan Brady is the anxious, overlooked middle sister whose constant struggle to emerge from her older sibling's shadow gave birth to television's most famous, frustrated catchphrase of resentment. The insecure girl who wanted to be noticed so badly that finding her own identity became her entire storyline. Eve Plum, born April 29, 1958, was 11 when the series began in 1969, and she gave Jan a wonderfully expressive, neurotic intensity that balanced the show's louder dramas. Jan starts awkward, defensive, and too eager, inventing fake boyfriends like George Glass just to match the high-achieving environment around her. That hunger gives her immense emotional weight, turning her into one of the show's clearest symbols of adolescent growing pains. In 2026, Plum turned 68, and her life after the split-level house has moved far beyond the narrow expectations of child stardom. She broke her wholesome mold early on by starring in the gritty television movie Dawn Portrait of a Teenage Runaway, continued working across regional theater, and steadily built a highly respected career as an accomplished fine art painter. For decades, her vivid canvas work has been showcased in prestigious galleries, showing she understood how to define herself outside of franchise memory. Jan Brady endures because Eve Plum made middle child anxiety feel vulnerable, funny, and painfully eager to belong. Carol Brady is innocence and warmth trying to stay intact inside a chaotic household built to test it. The sweet mother whose radiant smile and modern shag haircut became one of the era's most recognizable maternal signatures. Florence Henderson, born February 14, 1934, was 35 when the series began in 1969, and she gave Carol a progressive, loving gentleness that made her stand out from traditional television housewives. Carol was fashionable, patient, fiercely fair, and completely dedicated to treating her new stepchildren like her own biological daughters. Her strength came from holding on to family harmony even when 6 growing kids were moving too fast, turning a complicated blended arrangement into a seamless unit by the finale. Henderson died on November 24, 2016 at 82 due to heart failure, a monumental loss that brought emotional tributes from every single member of her television family. Long before becoming America's favorite mom, she was a celebrated Broadway musical superstar and a pioneering television host, breaking barriers as the first woman to ever guest host The Tonight Show. Her later decades were filled with continuous television hosting, cooking programs, and public appearances, where her genuine kindness always made people feel welcome. Carol Brady endures because Florence Henderson made unconditional maternal love feel ordinary, steady, and exactly where everyone wanted to come home. Peter Brady is the clumsy, voice-cracking middle son whose search for a distinct identity inside a competitive bedroom turned, growing up into a series of hilarious misadventures. The earnest boy whose relatable teenage awkwardness became his whole storyline. Christopher Knight, born November 7, 1957, was 11 when the series began in 1969, and he gave Peter a wonderful regular guy vulnerability and physical comedic energy. Peter starts out loyal, easily flustered, and too eager to fit in with his older brother, dealing with everything from peer pressure clubs to a sudden voice break during a vital musical performance. That unpolished quality gives him real emotional weight, turning him into a deeply authentic figure for young viewers navigating manhood. In 2026, Knight turns 68, and his life after the childhood lens has been defined by a spectacular, highly successful masterclass in corporate and tech entrepreneurship. After stepping away from full-time acting, he entered the pioneering world of computer software, founding multiple successful technology firms and later launching his own popular furniture line, Christopher Knight Home. He returned to television in the 2000s through reality projects and proudly championed the real-world, nostalgic restoration of the original television house. Peter Brady endures because Christopher Knight made adolescent awkwardness feel deeply sympathetic, funny, and entirely genuine. Greg Brady is the groovy guitar-strumming eldest brother whose cool leather jackets, athletic high school stardom, and dreams of musical celebrity made him the ultimate heartthrob of suburbia. The confident leader who spent years trying to turn adolescent swagger into genuine maturity. Barry Williams, born September 30th, 1954, was 14 when the series began in 1969, and he gave Greg the perfect mix of privileged, level-headed responsibility and leading man energy. Greg could be arrogant, impulsive, and desperate to claim his own private room in the attic. But that is why his arc worked. He had to grow into dependency, loyalty, and adult maturity in front of a generation of fans. In 2026, Williams turns 71, and his life after the backyard spotlight has stayed proudly and affectionately tied to pop culture preservation. He built an extensive, highly successful career in musical theater, starring in national tours of West Side Story, and Pippin hosted nostalgic retrospectives and headlined long-running musical variety shows in Branson, Missouri. His best-selling comedic memoir, Growing Up Brady, reframed how fans saw the show, and his high-energy run on Dancing with the Stars in his late 60s proved his enduring showmanship. Greg Brady endures because Barry Williams made youthful ambition look incredibly stylish, wholesome, and fiercely entertaining. Mike Brady is the calm, deeply philosophical architect who carries fatherhood like a proud calling. The man who refuses to believe a blended family is any less permanent than a bloodline. Robert Reed, born October 19, 1932, was 36 when the series began in 1969, and he gave Mike a warm, resonant vocal gravity and absolute moral authority that never needed big speeches. Mike was the rational anchor, the patient listener, the mentor, and the man who let his 6 children make mistakes under his roof without ever making them feel unloved. He mattered because his den room lectures were not just a sitcom routine. They were where integrity, fairness, and structural family values could sit at the same table. Reed died on May 12, 1992, at 59 from colon cancer and complications of HIV. A quiet personal chapter he kept entirely private during his lifetime to protect his career and his television family. A deeply intellectual, classically trained Shakespearean actor, he frequently clashed behind the scenes with producers over the show's broad realism, always fighting to elevate the scripts to a higher artistic standard. Despite his professional frustrations, he deeply loved his television children, mentoring them off-screen and remaining a devoted, lifelong father figure. Mike Brady endures because Robert Reed brought genuine dramatic weight and polished gravity to the family table. Cindy Brady is the sweet, lisping youngest daughter whose tightly curled, blonde pigtails and habit of innocent eavesdropping made her the ultimate baby of the family. The sensitive girl whose transparent openness became one of the show's most recognizable emotional signatures. Susan Olsen, born August 14, 1961, was 8 when the series began in 1969, and she gave Cindy a gentle, wide-eyed innocence that made her stand out from the older siblings' louder dramas. Cindy was loyal, occasionally naive, and often frustrated by being underestimated by the rest of the house. But her strength came from her absolute honesty, handling childhood dilemmas with a raw, sensitive sweetness that kept her anchored in the family grid. In 2026, Olsen turns 64, and her life after the split-level house has moved through a diverse, independent array of creative and alternative paths. She transitioned away from the cameras to become a highly successful graphic designer, a dedicated animal rescue advocate, and a prominent independent talk radio broadcaster in Los Angeles. She frequently generated headlines for her outspoken, unfiltered social commentary, proving she had grown far beyond the quiet compliance of her childhood role, while always maintaining a deep protective affection for her castmates. Cindy Brady endures because Susan Olsen made pure childhood innocence feel exposed, stubborn, and completely harmless. Bobby Brady is the enthusiastic, deeply earnest youngest son whose small stature and big dreams frequently landed him in hilarious, short-lived misadventures. The loyal boy whose restless energy made him a central figure in the household's competitive dynamic. Mike Lookinland, born December 19, 1960, was 8 when the series began in 1969, and he brought Bobby a bright, natural enthusiasm and a memorable head of jet-black dyed curls. Bobby starts out eager, impulsive, and constantly trying to keep pace with his older brothers, whether attempting seesaw world records or enforcing safety rules. That absolute determination gives him real emotional weight, turning his childhood defeats into some of the show's most poignant coming-of-age moments. In 2026, Lookinland turns 65, and his life after child stardom took a meaningful turn entirely away from the frantic Hollywood spotlight. After working briefly behind the camera as an adult digital operator, he moved to Utah and discovered a profound passion for hands-on architectural craftsmanship, running his own successful business, creating custom decorative concrete. His transition from an iconic television child into a practical, hardworking artisan provided him with a quiet, authentic identity far removed from celebrity noise. Bobby Brady endures because Mike Lookinland made youthful, absolute determination feel deeply funny, sweet, and entirely real. Alice Nelson is the wisecracking, fiercely loyal live-in housekeeper whose blue uniform, permanent supply of meatloaf, and brilliant blue-collar wit kept the household running smoothly. Ann B. Davis, born May 3, 1926, was 43 when the series began in 1969, and she gave Alice a magnificent, high-energy physical comedy that never needed big dramatic speeches. Alice was the kitchen general, the patient confidant, the master of the corny pun, and the woman who let the kids grow up under her watchful eye without ever letting them drift apart. She mattered because she wasn't just an employee. She was the emotional glue that kept heartbreak, friendship, and second chances sitting in the same kitchen booth. Davis died on June 1, 2014 at 88 after a sudden fall, a loss that brought deep, respectful retrospectives from generations of television fans who had grown up at her counter. Long before she ever vacuumed the Brady living room, she was already a massive 2-time Emmy Award-winning star of early television comedy as Schultze on The Bob Cummings Show. Her later decades were spent completely away from Hollywood, living in a close-knit religious community where she dedicated her life to charity, fellowship, and a quiet spiritual peace. Alice Nelson endures because Ann B. Davis made working-class loyalty feel powerful, comforting, and fiercely legendary. Professor Hubert Whitehead is the eccentric, deeply intense archaeologist who encounters the family during their grand vacation in Hawaii, plunging the boys into a terrifying, superstitious panic over an ancient tiki idol. Vincent Price, born May 27, 1911, was 61 when he brought his magnificent theatrical dramatic energy to the historic 1972 three-part Hawaiian episode. Professor Whitehead is paranoid deeply, academic and completely unhinged, locking the boys in a cave because he mistakenly believes they are trying to steal his ancient archaeological discoveries. Price played the role with a wonderful self-deprecating goofiness that perfectly weaponized his iconic horror image for wholesome family comedy. Price died on October 25, 1993, at 82 from lung cancer, universally revered as a definitive master of cinematic horror and an incredibly cultured patron of the arts. Beyond his unforgettable spooky excursion into the Brady universe, he built a legendary career in classic cinema, starred in Roger Corman's Edgar Allan Poe masterpieces, and lent his chilling voice to Michael Jackson's Thriller. His immense legacy as a gourmet cook art collector and intellectual made him an enduring favorite across generations of film fans. Professor Whitehead endures because Vincent Price made theatrical ancient madness look brilliantly funny, bold, and entirely uninhibited. Davy Jones is the charming British pop music sensation whose surprise arrival at a local recording studio transforms Marcia's desperate high school prom date promise into a spectacular dream-come-true reality. Davy Jones, born December 30th, 1945, was 25 when he made his historic, era-defining guest appearance in 1971, providing the sitcom with its absolute peak moment of teen idol hysteria. Davy is sweet, incredibly polite, and completely comfortable delivering a smooth, romantic serenade that reduces Marcia and her entire school to a state of ecstatic weeping joy. Jones brought a natural, radiating musical warmth and British charm to the set, effortlessly playing a heightened version of his real-world superstar persona. Jones died on February 29, 2012, at 66 from a sudden heart attack. His unexpected passing, bringing an outpouring of profound grief from generations of pop music fans worldwide. As the clear-cut magnetic heartthrob of the cultural phenomenon, the Monkees, he had dominated world charts, television screens, and radio airwaves throughout the 1960s with definitive anthems like Daydream Believer. He spent his later decades continually touring, performing on Broadway, and passionately breeding racehorses, remaining an enduring beloved symbol of musical innocence. Davy Jones endures because he turned a high school prom invitation into a sweet, timeless explosion of pure pop culture magic. Joe Namath is the legendary fur coat-wearing professional quarterback who walks right into the family's backyard after Bobby invents a terminal illness just to meet his ultimate sports hero, teaching the boy a valuable lesson about honesty. Joe Namath, born May 31st, 1943, was 30 when he brought his massive, larger-than-life athletic celebrity to the sitcom living room in 1973. Broadway Joe is incredibly kind, gentle, and completely understanding of the boys' desperate scheme, taking the time to throw footballs in the yard while reminding the family that true heroes always value the truth. Namath played himself with a relaxed, completely natural, charismatic ease that perfectly translated his swaggering sports image into family-friendly television gold. In 2026, Namath turns 83, standing as an absolute permanent titan of American sports culture whose bold charisma permanently revolutionized professional football. Famous for guaranteeing a historic victory in Super Bowl III and backing it up with a legendary performance, he became a massive multimedia celebrity actor and highly visible product endorser throughout the 1970s. His later years were marked by private business ventures, sports commentary, and an open, honest public journey toward sobriety that further humanized the legendary quarterback in the eyes of his fans. Joe Namath endures because he made sports heroism look incredibly accessible, warm, and deeply compassionate. Desi Arnaz Jr. is the dashing, highly sought-after Hollywood teenager whose unexpected appearance at a local television studio causes Marcia to lose her absolute mind with romantic infatuation during a school writing competition. Desi Arnaz Jr., born January 19, 1953, was 17 when he brought his clean-cut leading man looks to the series in 1970, generating a massive buzz due to his status as Hollywood royalty. Desi is polite, deeply encouraging, and completely unbothered by the sheer chaos Marcia's intense crush inflicts on the scriptwriting room. He played himself with a smooth, completely natural, professional ease that beautifully captured the glamorous, untouchable nature of 1970s teen stardom. In 2026, Arnaz Jr. turns 73, living a quiet, deeply purposeful, creative life, dedicated to historical preservation and regional theater production, far away from the Hollywood grind. As the son of television titans Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, his very birth was a national media event, later launching his own successful musical career in the band Dino Daisy and Billy, before starring in feature films and television dramas. His later decades were defined by his passionate leadership of the Boulder City Ballet Company and his dedication to keeping his parents' monumental entertainment legacy alive. Desi Arnaz Jr. endures because he made youthful high society glamour look incredibly sweet, approachable, and fiercely unforgettable. Pat Conway is the high-spirited, ultra-confident cheerleader whose brief competitive presence in the high school hallway pushes Marcia into a frantic, high-stakes battle for a coveted spot on the varsity squad. Rita Wilson, born October 26, 1956, was just 15 years old when she made her very first television screen appearance in 1972, showcasing a natural, vibrant energy that hinted at a massive future in entertainment. Pat is bright, fiercely athletic, and completely comfortable navigating the high-stakes world of teenage social competition with an effortless, smiling confidence. Wilson brought a wonderfully sharp, energetic presence to the school halls, holding her own against the show's established Golden Girl. In 2026, Wilson turned 69, standing at the absolute peak of a multifaceted global career as an acclaimed actress, hit film producer, and celebrated singer-songwriter. Decades after her cheerleading tryouts, she became a powerful force behind the scenes in Hollywood, producing massive cultural phenomena like My Big Fat Greek Wedding and starring in hit films like Sleepless in Seattle. Her enduring real-life marriage to Tom Hanks became one of Hollywood's most stable and widely respected love stories, while her successful turn into country pop music proved her vast creative range. Pat Conway endures because Rita Wilson turned a brief high school competition into a loud, unforgettable early glimpse of pure Hollywood star power. Millicent is the sweet, quiet classmate whose sudden heartwarming romantic interest in Bobby leads to his very first adolescent kiss, instantly triggering a hysterical family panic over the imaginary danger of catching the mumps. Sue Anderson, born September 26, 1962, was just 11 years old when she delivered her gentle, memorable guest spot in 1973, beautifully showcasing the soft, dramatic innocence that would soon capture the heart of the nation. Millicent is gentle, incredibly polite, and completely comfortable navigating Bobby's nervous, boyish hesitations with a sweet, reassuring confidence. Anderson's performance provided the series with one of its most innocent and enduring milestones of childhood romance. In 2026, Anderson turns 63, enjoying a quiet, highly selective acting life after decades of being one of television's most recognizable faces of traditional American drama. Shortly after her sweet kiss in the Brady backyard, she achieved permanent television immortality as the resilient Mary Ingalls in the legendary historical series Little House on the Prairie, earning an Emmy nomination for her profound dramatic depth. She later authored a deeply personal memoir about her childhood on set and chose a peaceful private life in Canada with her family largely removed from the Hollywood noise. Millicent endures because Sue Anderson made a child's first romance feel beautifully tender, pure, and delightfully sweet. Sam Franklin is the cheerful apron-wearing local butcher whose steady supply of prime rib and corny romantic puns keeps Alice's heart permanently fluttering over the counter of his neighborhood butcher shop. Alan Melvin, born February 18, 1923, was 46 when he first brought his booming voice, broad shoulders, and friendly working-class energy to the recurring cast in 1969. Sam is jovial, deeply devoted, and completely comfortable, navigating Alice's domestic schemes, serving as an extended, honorary uncle figure to the 6 children whenever he visits the living room. Melvin played him with a wonderful, lived-in comedic warmth that made Sam and Alice's long-term romance an essential domestic anchor for the entire show. Melvin died on January 17, 2008 at 84 from a sudden heart attack, leaving behind an incredibly rich, prolific legacy as one of the most reliable character actors and voice talents in television history. Long before stepping behind the butcher counter, he was a major comedic force as Corporal Henshaw on The Phil Silvers Show, and achieved sitcom legendary status as Barney Hefner on All in the Family and Archie Bunker's Place. His iconic vocal work also brought permanent life to cartoon legends like Magilla Gorilla and Bluto in Popeye. Sam the Butcher endures because Alan Melvin made working-class steady devotion feel deeply funny, comforting, and wonderfully permanent. Oliver is the clumsy, wide-eyed young cousin who arrives at the household during its final season, instantly earning a reputation as a walking jinx whose accidental mishaps constantly disrupt the family peace. Robbie Rist, born April 4, 1964, was just 9 years old when he was introduced in 1974, bringing a frantic, high-octane, youthful energy and a pair of oversized glasses to a veteran cast that had already grown into young adults. Oliver is earnest, desperately eager to fit in, and completely oblivious to the sheer domestic chaos his clumsy presence inflicts on his older cousins. Rist played him with a fearless, uninhibited goofiness that perfectly leaned into the character's status as a walking comedic disaster zone. In 2026, Rist turned 62, his extensive creative life after his childhood in suburbia, representing a spectacular, highly versatile journey through voice acting, music production, and alternative pop culture. After stepping away from on-screen child roles, he achieved permanent pop culture immortality by voicing Michelangelo in the original hit Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies and providing voices for countless iconic animated series like Doc McStuffins. He also became a highly successful independent rock musician, composer, and producer, embracing his unique place in television history with total humor and grace. Oliver endures because Robbie Rist made innocent, accidental chaos look incredibly funny, bold, and entirely uninhibited. Harry Matthews is the slick, fast-talking businessman whose elaborate, high-pressure real estate schemes briefly threaten to buy out the family's beloved neighborhood block until Mike's architectural integrity stands firmly in his way. Jim Backus, born February 25, 1913, was 61 when he brought his magnificent, booming vocal authority and wealthy comedic swagger to the series in 1974, providing a brilliant counterweight to the show's domestic focus. Harry is smooth, completely transactional, and entirely unimpressed by Mike's community-minded arguments treating the local landscape like his own personal chessboard. Backus played the part with a refined, upper-class starchiness that turned a standard corporate villain into pure comedic gold. Backus died on July 3, 1989 at 76, due to complications from Parkinson's disease, concluding an extraordinarily towering career that crossed animation, classic cinema, and television royalty. A true icon of American pop culture, he achieved permanent immortality as the voice of the nearsighted cartoon legend Mr. Magoo, and became globally beloved as the fabulously wealthy Thurston Howell III on the smash hit Gilligan's Island. His sharp wit, distinctively elite voice, and profound dramatic talent, including a powerful turn opposite James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause, made him one of his generation's most revered performers. Harry Matthews endures because Jim Backus brought genuine theatrical weight and polished gravity to a world of suburban farce. Harry Duggan is the eccentric, short-tempered local salvage yard owner who finds himself completely caught in the middle of a frantic, high-stakes hunt when the Brady boys desperately try to buy back a junked item they sold by mistake. Jackie Coogan, born October 26, 1914, was 56 when he brought his sharp, angular features and veteran comedic energy to the sitcom set in 1970. Harry is tired, sharp-tongued, and looks at the chaotic influx of frantic children with the quiet, deadpan weariness of an ordinary working man who has seen absolutely everything. Coogan played the role with a wonderful, gravelly-voiced intensity that turned a routine neighborhood trip to the junkyard into a memorable highlight of pure physical comedy. Coogan died on March 1, 1984 at 69 from cardiac arrest, closing out a monumental historic life that literally defined the entire legal and cultural landscape of childhood stardom in America. Decades before entering the Brady neighborhood, he was a massive international cinematic icon as a child actor starring opposite Charlie Chaplin in the silent masterpiece The Kid, a career that later led to the historic Coogan Law protecting child performers' financial earnings. He later achieved permanent global television immortality as the delightfully macabre bald Uncle Fester in the classic sitcom The Addams Family. Harry Duggan endures because Jackie Coogan made everyday neighborhood eccentricity look brilliantly funny, sharp, and deeply authentic. The AstroTurf backyard has been cleared, the iconic floating staircase has gone quiet, and that famous split-level living room has faded into memory. But the Brady Bunch never really lets us leave cleanly. Those bright young faces were sold a dream of domestic harmony, and decades later that dream feels heavier than ever. Some of the cast became monuments of pop culture. Some moved into quieter lives, and some proved that the hardest battles are not always fought on screen, but against time, reinvention, and being remembered for one role forever. If this rewind pulled you back into the suburban grid, stay with Classic Echoes TV for more then and now stories where the faces may change, but the echoes never fully disappear.